I think this is pretty special. So our case study will be on Saj. So basically, this is a video of a little clip of a video of myself and another PSI instructor, Daniel, who's in California. And him and I are tag teaming and facilitating Saj in a very vulnerable infantile process where he's basically coming back to life as an infant, right? So as this little infant, Saj is, um, you know, he's shared a little bit of his story, I think, on previous videos of born into an environment where the outside world was very scary, and therefore the inside world got really scary. And so as an infant, he had to separate from this world and go into, perhaps you could say, almost a non-reality realm. And so this is just a little segment of him rediscovering himself, rediscovering his body, and rediscovering the outside world, and how it all kind of was sort of, you could say, experienced like almost 3D for him, and everything was loaded. Touch was loaded, the interaction with people were loaded, with Daniel and I was loaded, and what was happening inside his body for sensation was quite loaded.
And I think what we're looking at here is, a lot of neglect and just a lot of aloneness for an infant. And that, my system absolutely interpreted that as a high threat environment. And I went numb during it, right? I just kind of went blank with it. And so basically, what in the PSIP model, that would be considered state 4 on the nervous system map, where there's a lot of endogenous opioid release. So there's a lot of sort of nervous system numbing that's taking place. And I think the unique thing that we're seeing here is that, we're seeing sort of a very formative psyche here. When you're that young, you're going through lots and lots of sensitive developmental windows. And so all of that development of understanding of self, relating to self, and relating to other is happening in the context of a lot of dissociation, a lot of opioid-based numbing that's taking place here, right? So I think the contrast to that would be, if you were 20 years old and had something really intense happen to you, yeah, your brain, your nervous system would also have this numbing effect, but you're not in a developmentally sensitive window at that time, right? That's the psyche is already, the personality is already what it's going to be, and I think when we're working with very early trauma like this, the complexity of it, the treatment resistance of it is not just the fact that it's all hidden behind dissociation and numbing. It's also the fact that there's these really profound developmental needs and tasks that are also needing to play out in the psychedelic session, right? So I think if it was not for the container, if it wasn't for sort of both Jaya and Daniel being able to really go there with me, this would have been really bad, right? Well, my system probably wouldn't have opened the door to it in the first place. But, I think because the trust in the container and the trust in the process was there, my system really took the opportunity to go there. We don't operate within the window of tolerance simply because, for a number of reasons, but mostly because, trauma doesn't tend to live in any kind of reasonable window of tolerance. It's called trauma because it was so far out of anything that was tolerable. And I think what you're about to see here is kind of an indication of, what happens with psychedelics. Because when I was part of the MAPS trial, the phase 2 MDMA research trial, people would take MDMA and very quickly leave any reasonable window of tolerance, right? The psychedelic and the process really is taking us to where the wounding is. And that can be hyperarousal, lots of activated states, and hypoarousal, right? Really dissociative numb states. I think the big thing to track in the PSIP session is, because we don't limit where clients can go in terms of window of tolerance, what we do is really insist on relationship, right? We really insist on having a securely attached bond with the client. We have a very closely held attunement process, which again, I think that's a really nice overlap with the AEDP world. There's a really deep attunement process that clients go through while they're in the psychedelic state. Um, and we that tends to add a great deal of solution and capacity to the system, right? So in other words, we're not just looking at an infant nervous system here with events, neglect that happened at the level of infancy. We're looking at an infant nervous system, but now with the capacities and the solution of relationship injected into that memory, right? So it fundamentally changes sort of the capacity to process when we do that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, Saj, I really like what you're saying there in terms of it fundamentally changes their capacity to process. So for me, as I'm a somatic, like my background is somatic psychology. So my world was, up until I started doing the PSI work, all about keeping people within their window of tolerance. And then once I started learning Saj's model, it's like, oh, I appreciate this model in a whole other different way, because it's like, it's not about containing someone within that window of tolerance. It's about adding what needed to be added originally when the trauma happened, and like having a greater holding environment in terms of solutioning. For example, the more solutioning that's on board, then there's way more capacity, way more intensity that you can bring to the process. There's way more, the client is able to go way deeper in. And so for me, when I flipped from window of tolerance to what's the container, what's the holding environment that will allow this individual to really dive into the intensity of their nightmare, it changed the whole game for me. It was like you could just see people plowing through stuff so much more quickly than they would with some of the other modalities that I had been trained in.
Hang on real quick. People want to know what medicine we're using. We completely forgot to talk about that. Okay, folks, sorry about that. I think one of the reasons why we forget about that is the medicine is absolutely important in the PSIP session, but it's definitely not everything. We're not like I think it's the medicine is as important as the container. It's as important as the relationship, and it is as important as the pathway that the psychedelic process takes through the system. So the answer to the question is this is actually a kind of a unique situation. We're working with both cannabis and ketamine.
Oh, oh, what? Yeah, not real place. Yeah, and if you can, take us with you. Okay. Yeah. It's just like it's bright. It's like a beige, and it's not bad. Yeah. 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 Notice how it's not bad. Okay. Yeah, it's like. Thank you for asking me to notice how something. Yeah.
Yeah, Saj. Yeah, just feel into the foot. Notice that foot. Yeah.
Oh, you guys are noticing me.
Yeah.
So just even that piece. So Saj's words are, oh, you guys are just noticing me, right? You're noticing me. So here we have a prediction error, right? So if Saj had incredible neglect, someone noticing him would be a huge prediction error. And that's going to run through his system and just almost like crack the ice of that dissociation. So his leg is coming up, right? He's starting to begin to feel the sensation. Now, as an infant, he couldn't feel any of this sensation. So there would be huge sort of desire to want to move out of the body and not have to feel this. So what are we doing? We're encouraging him to feel the muscles, feel the body, right? So he can come back into his experience, come back into the body and start to feeling the intensity of the sensation. And then we loop in that prediction error of, we're right here, we're not going anywhere. And then his system goes, oh my God, you're seeing me. You're seeing my leg move, right? You're here with me. So now we're looping in relationship and we're looping in the body, the sensation, and encouraging them to keep feeling what's there.
We are. Yeah, I'm really
You're
feel
at
the
this-
muscles of the foot.
You're at this place with me. Oh, God.
Yeah, we're here together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're not going to leave you here alone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Movement with the right foot.
Oh.
Right knee's coming up.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Feel the muscles.
Guys, it feels like little kid colors.
Yeah.
Oh, I feel you.
That.
I feel you.
Okay. Again, just another moment that I just think is so tender. And so again, if you have a system that it has been neglected, any minute touch is going to be loaded. So he's going to touch, he's going to pull back, he's going to touch, he's going to pull back. There's going to be all of this like negotiation with the touch. And you would imagine that an infant would just love the touch, but look at Saj's face, right? There's just this sense of like how excruciating this is, right? So touch is just so loaded for his system, it has to be titrated. It has to be just like back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, right?
Yeah.
And he's just building that in, building that in. Yeah.
Yeah, folks. And I think, I mean, it's not an adult that we're looking at here, right? It's an adult doesn't explore the world with his foot, right? And this is like a little infant foot coming up and starting to make contact. What Jai is pointing to here is that even the good stuff is activating for my system, right? So we think the trauma would be activating, but I think what we very frequently find in this work is that all of a sudden, when the thing shows up that wasn't there, that you always wanted to be there, that you developmentally that you needed to have there, then it's not like your system's like calm and just welcoming of it and wonderful, this is easy to accept. It's like, no, there's an enormous amount of charge to it, right? So again, I lived in a world at this time in my life where there was just a lot of emptiness, and making contact, like hearing people's voices, making contact with skin, is really communicating to my system that somebody's here, and that's not an easy revelation, as you'll see in my system. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. My analogy is it's almost like thawing out, like if you have frostbite on your ear and then it starts to thaw out, it's painful, it's excruciating. Like you're coming into contact with parts of your body that were completely numb, and now it's starting to thaw out, and there's going to be huge charge that emerges as a result of that.
Yeah. Right here. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Can your right foot notice my arm?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. What does that feel like, Saj?
Yeah, they sure are. Oh my God. Oh my God, they sure are. Oh, they sure are. Yeah. Okay. Oh my God. Okay. It feels really good. Yeah. It feels so nice that that's there.
Mm-hmm.
It's real.
Yeah, it's real, Saj.
Mm-hmm.
It's real.
There you go. Yeah. I got you. Yeah. Oh, love you. Oh, this is so deep. Mm-hmm. Oh God, it's so deep inside me. Yeah, see how deep it goes. Thank you. See how deep it goes, baby. Oh, thank you for being here.
You can take us with you into the deepness.
Okay, thank you for being here. Oh my God.
We're not going anywhere.
That you would be willing to do that is so incredible.
Of course